Good morning, students. Today we will be discussing your hydrogen, the different isotopes of hydrogen. We shall discuss isotopes of hydrogen. Isotopes, you know, Z same, but mass number differs. Mass number different. For hydrogen, Z is equal to 1 and mass number A is equal to 1, A is equal to 2, A is equal to 3. It can be written like this: H11, H12 or D, H13 tritium or T. So, you see they will differ by the number of neutrons. The mass number differs. Mass number means the number of neutrons plus protons. So, you see in this case proton 1, neutron is 0. You remember, suppose if you are asked write down an isotope which does not contain neutron, simply you write down protium. Protium, this is proton, simple proton. Protium, then deuterium, then tritium. These are the three isotopes, atomic number same, but atomic number same 1, but the mass differs. So, these are called isotopes, and out of these three isotopes this is very common, high percentage, but others are very less, and tritium is still very less or least, and it is, you see, this is radioactive. Remember, tritium is radioactive. Radioactive means unstable and can emanate either alpha ray or beta ray or gamma ray. These are, but this is beta active. Alpha ray cannot be emanated from this, because alpha ray is nothing but 2 protons, 2 neutrons, but it contains 1 proton. So, this is beta active, that is beta rays emanates from this, that is beta ray means E minus 1 0. Beta rays are nothing but electrons. This is beta ray. Beta ray, remember, beta ray is nothing but electrons. So, this is minus 1, this is 1, means this should be 2, 3 0, this should be 3. That means this is helium. 2 belongs to atomic number 2 means that is helium. So, this is helium 3, that means another isotope of helium. Helium 3, helium 4 is the most common isotope, but helium 3 is there. In the lunar area there is more helium 3. So, you see this is beta active, you can call it beta active, that means by emanation of beta ray or emission of beta ray it forms an isotope of helium. So, these are the isotopes of hydrogen. Remember, these are the isotopes of hydrogen, and basing on this mass they have identical chemical property, but they differ in their physical property, because mass differs, your boiling point, etc., physical property differs, but chemical property, you remember, all isotopes of an element should have same chemical property, because chemical property depends on electron transfer or sharing of electron, and all these. Suppose I ask you what is the electronic configuration of deuterium, simply you write down 1s1, because this also contains single electron. That is also hydrogen, that is also tritium, because the number of electron is equal to number of proton is equal to 1. So, in all the cases proton is 1, 1, 1, but they differ in by neutrons, and neutrons does not responsible for what? For your chemical properties. So, number of electron is 1. So, 1s1, the configuration is 1s1. So, that is basing on this atomic mass, the property that varies, that is called isotopic effect. Question 1 mark question is asked, what is isotopic effect? Isotopic effect means the properties that differ with respect to with respect of atomic mass. Atomic mass. This properties means physical, kinetics, etc. Physical properties that differs with respect of atomic mass is called isotopic effect. As for example, let us say, what is the example? Say you consider hydrogen, protium, chlorine, in presence of photon, you are getting hydrogen chloride. Similarly, you take deuterium plus chlorine, you will get 2 deuterium chloride, but you can call it heavy hydrogen chloride. You also call it heavy hydrogen, deuterium is called also heavy hydrogen. So, D2 is called heavy water, H2 is called simply water, but D2 is called heavy water. So, similarly it is called heavy hydrogen chloride, or you can call it deuterium chloride. But this deuterium chloride, you see, if you study the kinetics, this is very fast, instantaneous, very fast reaction, but this is less. The reaction is less reactive, that means this is less reactive, or kinetics is slow kinetics. The rate of reaction is much more than this your deuterium chloride. So, why the kinetics vary? That is a physical property, that is vary due to this mass difference. So, the properties that differs due to this mass difference is called isotopic effect. So, if a chemical reaction is replaced by, suppose water, hydrolysis of ester, suppose if you put forth with D2, the kinetics will change. The rate of reaction with water is much more than the rate of reaction with D2. But similar reaction, similar type of product will form. Suppose you take ethyl acetate plus water, you get acetic acid plus ethyl alcohol. Suppose similarly same ethyl acetate and ester, if you hydrolyze with D2 heavy water, the product will be similar, but the kinetics vary. This is a very fast reaction, but this is a slow reaction. This is fast, this is slow. So, the kinetics differ. The kinetics kinetically this is fast, this is fast, but kinetically this is slow. So, you see but the product you see, instead of H you get D, that means CH3 COD, that means heavy acetic acid, and here you get heavy ethyl alcohol. Simply you can call it ethyl alcohol, ethanol. Here you will call it heavy ethanol. And H is replaced by D, but this is a slow reaction, kinetically this is less, this is more. That means per second many more molecules will take part in the chemical reaction, here per second less molecules will take part in the chemical reaction. So, kinetically the kinetic rate of reaction will differ, and this you can refer to isotopic effect. The change in physical property in respect of the atomic mass, change in atomic mass is called isotopic effect. Then another type of hydrogen we shall discuss, that is your isomers, or you can call it nuclear isomers. There is difference in the properties of the nucleus, not in the electronic configuration, but the property in the nucleus. Nuclear isomers of hydrogen. With respect to the nuclear changing of spinning, proton spinning, there are two types of nuclear isomers of hydrogen. One is called orthohydrogen, another is called parahydrogen. What hydrogen we see in the nature? The both that contains orthohydrogen and parahydrogen in some ratio. Orthohydrogen, which will be told orthohydrogen. Orthohydrogen means this is your hydrogen molecule. Suppose this is one hydrogen atom, this is another hydrogen atom, this is electronic spin, this is electronic spin, the electron spin is plus half, the electron spin is minus half. So, clockwise and anti-clockwise they overlap, so that bond is formed. But why it is called orthohydrogen? Similar in case of parahydrogen. Similar also in case of parahydrogen. Here the electronic spin will be same, plus half, minus half. But as there is only one proton, remember, only hydrogen is the single atom which contains one proton and one electron. But other than all other elements will contain what? Other 117 elements contain more than one proton. Only the hydrogen is a significant element that only contains a single proton, that is protium. But deuterium, neutron, in the deuterium one neutron is there, in the tritium 2 neutrons are there. But this is the only isotope or only molecule where there are only 2 protons only, 2 protons only. 2 hydrogen, there are 2 hydrogen, this is one proton, this is another proton. But proton also spins along its own axis. So, if orthohydrogen means the proton spin will be parallel. Proton spin will be parallel or in the same direction, clockwise or anti-clockwise, clockwise, plus half. So, this is the proton spin, due to variation in the proton spin, or you can, because nucleus contains only one single proton, also you can call it nuclear spin. So, nuclear spin also you can call it, because nucleus contain a single proton, so you can call it nuclear spin also. But this nuclear spin varies, opposite. Para means the not parallel but anti-parallel, opposite to each other. If this is plus half, this will be minus half. So, this will be anti-parallel spin, You can call it anti-parallel nuclear spin, That means the proton, if one proton moves like this, another proton will opposite. If it is clockwise, it is anti-clockwise. But here in either in clockwise, 2 will be clockwise or 2 will be anti-clockwise. So, this is the difference between, with respect to nuclear spinning, your hydrogen molecules are of 2 types, one is orthohydrogen and parahydrogen. So, if you are asked one more question, ortho and parahydrogen are dash of hydrogen, in the filling the gaps you can represent isomer, or simply you can call it isomer or nuclear isomer. Better answer will be nuclear isomer, because there is also electronic spinning is there. So, in order to distinguish their protonic spinning, you can simply call it nuclear isomers. So, these are molecular formula will be same, but there is variation in nuclear spinning property. So, these are isomers. So, we are discussing isotopes, then we are discussing isomers. In the ortho and parahydrogen, you see, if you give a temperature relationship between ortho and parahydrogen, you can put a plot like this: orthohydrogen parahydrogen ratio versus temperature in Kelvin scale, then your plot will be like this, So, you see the plot ortho para ratio gradually increases. That means orthohydrogen will be more, at higher temperature. That means at 400 degrees Kelvin, at 400 Kelvin, we will found the ortho and parahydrogen ratio does not change, it remains constant. Ortho and parahydrogen ratio will remains constant. unchanged, unchanged. But at 20 Kelvin, it is 400 Kelvin, but you see at 20 Kelvin, you will get what? 20 Kelvin, ortho-para ratio is less, ortho-para ratio is less. That means what? There will be more para hydrogen, more para hydrogen. So, more para hydrogen, if para hydrogen is more, this ratio is less. If ortho hydrogen is more, this ratio is more. So, with increasing temperature, the ratio increases, but with the decreasing temperature, the ratio decreases. The ratio decreases means there is more percentage of what? More percentage of para hydrogen. So, para hydrogen you can get pure para hydrogen at what? At 20 Kelvin. The 20 Kelvin there may be very less what? Very less what? Very less what? Ortho hydrogen. But with increase of temperature, the ortho hydrogen increases. So, para hydrogen can be converted to ortho hydrogen with increasing temperature. But you see, ordinary temperature, a room temperature say, suppose at room temperature, if you study what is the percentage of ortho hydrogen and para hydrogen, you will find ortho hydrogen is 75% and para hydrogen is 25%, or in the ratio 3 is to 1. That means at room temperature in the atmospheric conditions, we will find more of what? More of ortho hydrogen, which is almost 75%. So, this is regarding the isomers of hydrogen. Then with regard to the preparation of hydrogen, where we are giving you one synthetic method of preparation. Say synthetic, you are cracking of methane. If a methane gas cracks or thermally heated, this methane gas will give you your hydrogen. The methane gas with catalytic cracking, with catalyst at 1273, that means 1000 degrees centigrade Kelvin, you will get carbon plus 2 hydrogen. So, this is one synthetic way. Another synthetic way, generally for synthesis in the what? Your ammonia, the hydrogen is large scale is required. For large scale preparation, you can get from what? By Bosch process, BOSCH. Bosch process, you can synthesize hydrogen from syngas or water gas. Water gas is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. This is also called synthetic gas because from this different things are synthesized, like methyl alcohol. Methyl alcohol also can be synthesized from water gas. So, that is why this is called syngas. So, you see syn means synthetic. So, if you are asked what is syngas, you tell syngas is nothing but a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. And why it is called so? Because many things, many organic compounds are synthesized from this water gas. So, this is syngas, when you treat with chromium oxide and aluminum oxide, iron oxide, chromium oxide and iron oxide, if you heat it, you will get carbon dioxide plus hydrogen, you will get carbon dioxide plus hydrogen. That means this will be oxidized, carbon dioxide to and hydrogen. Carbon dioxide as well as what? You will get hydrogen. If you take steam with this, steam with this, you will under this catalyst, you will get carbon dioxide and hydrogen. So, this is a way by which from water gas you can prepare hydrogen. Suppose if I are asked how can you get water gas? The water gas also you can synthesize in the talcher, there is more large quantity of coal is there. So, from this coal, red hot coal, and steam is passed over it, when steam is passed over red hot coal or coke, another form of coal, red hot coke, you will get carbon monoxide plus hydrogen, that means water gas. That means you see your carbon, that is your coke, plus steam, water in the gaseous form, steam, very high heated water or heated steam, what you would get? You would get carbon monoxide plus hydrogen. So, you see, you remember water gas is synthesized by passing steam over red hot coke. When coke is heated, it becomes red. So, above this red hot coke, if you pass steam, then you will get water gas. Similarly, another gas is prepared for nitrogen, because for synthesis of ammonia you get hydrogen and nitrogen. So, hydrogen you can get it like by this, nitrogen you can get it without passing steam. If you pass air over red hot carbon, you will get what? You will get carbon monoxide and nitrogen, because air, the maximum percentage of air, the gas present is nitrogen. So, nitrogen is separated and carbon is converted to carbon monoxide. So, you see carbon monoxide plus nitrogen, this is synthesis of nitrogen, this is synthesis of hydrogen. So, that you will get synthesis of what? Synthesis of ammonia. So, ammonia is synthesized from nitrogen and hydrogen. So, from how you get carbon monoxide, nitrogen, and this is called, the name of this gas is called producer gas. How it is formed? You pass air over red hot coke, not white hot, if it still more heated, it becomes white, but when the red hot coke, your air is passed over it, your oxygen converts coke to carbon monoxide, and air contains oxygen, large percentage of oxygen and nitrogen is separated. So, that is how nitrogen is prepared from air. You can separate nitrogen from air by preparing what? By preparing producer gas. Hydrogen you can prepare from steam, that is water gas. So, for that reason we do not write down water bracketed G. For hydrogen we write H2 bracketed G, but water we do not write down bracketed G. Rather we write what? Vapor. Instead of writing G, we write vapor, because water gas is different from water bracketed G. So, do not write down, in case of water you simply write down water vapor, but in case of if you put it G, then water gas, that means, and water gas is nothing but what? That is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So, this is synthesis. In the laboratory you can prepare by different methods. From water also you can get hydrogen, from acid also you can get hydrogen, from alcohol also you get hydrogen. From different methods you can get hydrogen by treating with metal. Metal can displace simple from water. So, prepare a strong electropositive metal, treat with water. There will be very explosively that will react, giving you what? Hydrogen. Similarly, suppose aluminum, this is your simple cold water, but aluminum if you treat with water, simply hot water, aluminum will not react with cold water, but when hot water is treated with aluminum or zinc, you get what? You get aluminum oxide and hydrogen. So, hydrogen you can prepare by treating with water, that means cold or hot. Similarly, with acid also you can get acid, suppose zinc plus hydrochloric acid, that is how your initially it is prepared, zinc plus hydrochloric acid, your zinc chloride plus hydrogen. But zinc with sulfuric acid you treat dilute sulfuric acid. Question is asked, why not concentrated sulfuric acid is used to prepare hydrogen from zinc? Because sulfuric acid is not only an acid, but it is an what? It is a oxidizing agent, H2O, SO2 plus O. This is an oxidizing agent. So, that will oxidize zinc, no doubt, but there will be liberation of what? Sulfur dioxide. So, do not treat with concentrated sulfuric acid, do not treat with concentrated sulfuric acid, but treat with what? Dilute sulfuric acid. So, with dilute sulfuric acid, zinc liberates what? Hydrogen. But with concentrated sulfuric acid, zinc liberates what? Sulfur dioxide. Similarly, some metals also with alkali can give you hydrogen. Suppose you treat zinc with what? Sodium hydroxide, also you get what? Hydrogen. That you will get sodium zincate plus hydrogen. So, with the sodium hydroxide, aluminum with sodium hydroxide, you will get sodium aluminate plus hydrogen. The metal which will give you amphoteric oxide, zinc oxide is an amphoteric oxide, amphoteric oxide means that can both behave as an acid as well as what? Alkali. So, this amphoteric oxide metal can liberate hydrogen with what? With the alkali. So, from alkali this hydrogen can be displaced with it, treating with what? Amphoteric oxide. Tin or beryllium, this can give you what? With alkali that can give you hydrogen. So, tin, beryllium, zinc, aluminum with alkali can produce hydrogen gas. So, not only from water, but also from acid and alkali, we on action with certain metals, it can give you what? Hydrogen gas. Question may be asked, which of the following metal can liberate hydrogen gas from sodium hydroxide? You remember, if such metals will be given, then you can produce that. Suppose magnesium is there. So, magnesium is the odd man out. Magnesium will not liberate hydrogen when treated with sodium hydroxide. But magnesium from what? Magnesium from hot water, magnesium from dilute sulfuric acid, dilute hydrochloric acid, this can liberate what? Hydrogen. Similarly, question is asked, nitric acid is not used to prepare hydrogen, because you remember nitric acid is not only an acid, but what? But that is a what? Oxidizing agent. So, this is the regarding hydrogen, let us know this much. Then you come to hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is important compound in our laboratory as well as for analytical purposes as well as for industrial purposes. Even for environmental purposes, hydrogen peroxide is also used. So, hydrogen peroxide is important compound. Nowadays, hydrogen peroxide, the formula will be H2O2. Hydrogen peroxide, this is peroxide, you see, you know, oxide, the formula is like this. Magnesium oxide, calcium oxide, barium oxide, oxide is like this, oxygen with valency 2. Then peroxide, what is the formula of peroxide? Peroxide formula is O2, oxidation number is 2 minus or minus 2. So, O2 minus or oxidation number of oxygen is what? Minus 1. This is called peroxide. And another oxide what you come across in case of potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium, that is called superoxide. Superoxide is your O2 minus 1. Here oxidation number is minus 2. Here minus 1. Here minus half. For 2 it is minus 2. For 1 it is what? Minus half. So, you see, these are the with oxygen, these type of compounds we find along with metals. So, how can you prepare suppose hydrogen peroxide? You see, hydrogen peroxide you can prepare in the laboratory from barium peroxide, BaO2. Barium has valency 2, O2 has valency, O2 has valency 2. If it is BaO, that is called barium oxide. This is a barium peroxide, and barium will not form superoxide. So, barium oxide 8 water, octahydrate, 8 means octa, water means hydrate associated with one molecule. With sulfuric acid, what you get? Aqueous. This is your solid, sulfuric acid aqueous. What you get? You get barium sulfate solid, that will precipitate down. Barium sulfate is highly insoluble, so that will settle down. White is white, barium sulfate is white. So, what other things you will get? You will get water, H2O2 aqueous, in the aqueous medium. So, you see, remember, in the hydrogen peroxide most important impurity is your water. So, this is one way of preparing hydrogen peroxide. Mostly this is generally used in the laboratory method. Sodium peroxide also you can take, but why? Suppose if you are given sodium peroxide and barium peroxide, you will choose barium peroxide. Why? If you are asked why barium peroxide is chosen or preferred to sodium peroxide, the answer will be, in case of barium, you get barium sulfate which is insoluble, that will precipitate out, so that the supernatant liquid, the liquid above this barium sulfate, that is called supernatant liquid. So, that you can isolate easily. But if you take here, suppose say you are taking sodium peroxide Na2O2, sodium peroxide, what do you get? Sodium sulfate, that is soluble. That is why we choose barium peroxide instead of what? Sodium peroxide. Question may be asked, suppose in the multiple choice 4 options will be given, but you choose which option? Your chosen option will be barium peroxide. Do not choose sodium peroxide, potassium peroxide, rather which will be what? Which will be form soluble sulfate, but barium will form insoluble sulfate, so that supernatant liquid can be easily isolated. That is your trick in the preparation or in the synthesis, how to isolate. Then another way is called auto-oxidation, this is an important way. Easily you can get less costly auto-oxidation. That means air will act as an oxidizing agent. The atmosphere, air is much present, so automatically that will oxidize. So, how one thing what gets is automatically oxidized? That is your this. That is your 2-ethyl anthraquinol. This is your 2-ethyl in the beta position. This is alpha position, this is beta. 2-ethyl also you can call it beta ethyl. 2-ethyl anthraquinol. OH group is there. Quinol, you see, if it oxidizes air contact rate, simply on exposure, air contains aerial oxygen, it gives anthraquinone, it gives an oxidized alcohol, the secondary alcohol oxidizes to ketone, anthraquinone. Similarly, C2H5 is there. So, this is 2-ethyl anthraquinone. This is the automatically that will comes to this. Then if you reduce it, hydrogen in presence of palladium, again you get it. So, by this process what you get? Here H2, here O2, you will get H2O2. So, on addition of this oxygen, you can simply balance this. O2, 2, O4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, that is balanced. So, this is oxidized, again it is reduction you can have to done by passing hydrogen gas in presence of palladium, but automatically that will oxidize. This oxidizes on reduction, you can subsequently get what? Hydrogen peroxide. So, hydrogen peroxide can be obtained by oxidation and subsequent reduction of what? Ethyl anthraquinol. So, this is, though the yield is much less, but this is a less costly process. It is less costly, very cheap process. This is a very cheap or less costly process. Another way also prepare, that is your electrolysis of, that is your electrolysis of 50% sulfuric acid in ice cold condition. Otherwise hydrogen peroxide will decompose. So, ice cold condition, electrolysis of 50% sulfuric acid. This is where Adolph's process, this is called. So, you see sulfuric acid, that is an electrolyte, strong electrolyte, that will give you H plus and bisulfate ion. This bisulfate will be oxidized at anode or de-electronation, HSO4 minus 2HSO4, you will get H2S2O8. This is called peroxy disulfuric acid. Remember, peroxy, because oxygen linkage will be this. Peroxy disulfuric acid, or this is another name for it, you remember, that is called Marshall's acid. Another monosulfuric acid is called Carouse acid, and peroxy disulfuric acid is called Marshall's acid. The structure will be like this. The structure will be like this. This is your peroxy linkage, you see. This is your oxide linkage. This is your hydroxy linkage. This is your oxide linkage. This is your peroxy linkage. Peroxy linkage or bonding. Peroxy bonding. Oxygen. This bond is called peroxy linkage. Remember, or peroxide bond or peroxy linkage. Peroxy linkage. So, you see, then this from H2S2O4, how to get your hydrogen peroxide. Suppose you see the HOH, you hydrolyze, simply hydrolyze it. What you get? You get, that means 2 water. On addition of hydrolysis, you add 2 moles of water per mole of peroxy disulfuric acid. What you get? You get H2SO4, you see, H2SO4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, H2SO4. Similarly, you get sulfuric acid plus what? Hydrogen peroxide. So, hydrogen peroxide you can get by hydrolysis of peroxy disulfuric acid. Peroxy monosulfuric, if you see this, if this is not there, if it is like this H2S2O5, this is called peroxy monosulfuric acid or Carouse acid. Carouse acid. This is also all hydrolysis can give you hydrogen peroxide. The formula is like this: SOH O here H will be, simply H will be there. H2SO5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, H2SO5, that is called peroxy monosulfuric acid. Simply you hydrolyze it, HOH, what you get? You get sulfuric acid and hydrogen peroxide. So, peroxy monosulfuric acid can give also on hydrolysis, gives you what? Hydrogen peroxide. Peroxy disulfuric acid, what you get at anode, that you will get what? Hydrogen peroxide. So, hydrogen peroxide will be synthesized at anode by oxidation. Oxidation, why you can call it oxidation? 2 electron, you put 2 electron. Removal of electron is called oxidation, de-electronation. So, simply at anodic oxidation, what you get? You will get hydrogen peroxide at anode on electrolysis of 50%, not concentrated, 50% sulfuric acid in cold condition. If it is at room temperature, hydrogen peroxide will decompose. So, this is the preparation of hydrogen peroxide. Then you see concentration of hydrogen peroxide. This is important. Suppose if you are asked to prepare hydrogen peroxide in the examination, along with the preparation you write down concentration, because what hydrogen peroxide you are getting, that is your aqueous hydrogen peroxide. You have to remove hydrogen peroxide, but question is asked why hydrogen peroxide is not kept preserved in a dry condition. Suppose if you are taking without water hydrogen peroxide, then that will be explosive. Why it is hydrogen peroxide? Suppose if you are asked a question, dry hydrogen peroxide used as an explosive. Why? Because it easily decomposes quickly. H2O plus oxygen. So this evolution of, for sudden evolution of gas from any compound will cause what? Will cause explosion. That will function like a bomb. Quickly explosion will take place because there is quick evolution of oxygen gas from hydrogen peroxide in a solid condition or in a dry condition. But in aqueous condition generally it is available in the market. Concentration, how to remove water? So first you say slow evaporation over water bath. Without heating directly, put on water bath, slow evaporation also remove your water first. Second, drying in a desiccator, desiccator with concentrated sulfuric acid added dehydrating agent. Concentrated sulfuric acid will absorb moisture from this, so that this again becomes further dried. Third, you distillation under reduced pressure, say 15 millimeter of mercury. Your 760 millimeter is your atmospheric pressure. So this is a very low pressure. So if pressure is reduced, also the water will be evaporated. So evaporating power of water is more than that of your what? Hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide will be vaporized least than that of your what? Water. Then third, you freeze it. Freezing. At the freezing point of your hydrogen peroxide is much less. So hydrogen peroxide freezes to solid. So you are get crystals of hydrogen peroxide. You are solid crystals of hydrogen peroxide which slowly decompose to give you what? Your water and oxygen. So hydrogen peroxide, and if you suppose from this crystal what you get hydrogen, you slowly evaporate it, so that you will get what? Pure hydrogen peroxide. So you see, by this way, by a simple way of evaporating water, you can concentrated what? Concentrated hydrogen peroxide. So hydrogen peroxide can be concentrated by removing what? The impurity water from it. So if you remove water from it, it gets what? Concentrated. So this is the, but you see, the hydrogen, the question is asked, and the 2 or 3 mark question is asked like this. What is the volume concentration of hydrogen peroxide? Concentration, how to express? Concentration, expression of concentration. Expression of concentration of hydrogen peroxide. And one is mass volume percent. Mass volume percent. That means number of grams that present in 100 milliliter of water. So your volume is expressed in milliliter, mass is expressed in gram. That means the unit will be gram per milliliter. Suppose 20 mass percent, 20 mass volume percentage, that means 20 gram hydrogen peroxide by mass, this is by mass, and 100 milliliter your what? Water, 100 milliliter water, that is by what? By volume. So, if 20 gram present in 100 milliliter, 20 gram present in 100 milliliter, then that is called 20 mass percent. But generally this is not used. In the market we are getting 20 volume, 30 volume hydrogen peroxide, and that is the volume percent, not in the mass volume percent. This is one way. Second way is called volume percent, volume expression or volume of hydrogen peroxide. Suppose that in the generally in the market we are getting 10 volume hydrogen peroxide. Suppose in the if there is in a bottle there is a label 10 volume hydrogen peroxide. What does it mean? So, if you have written 10 volume hydrogen peroxide, that is it liberates, that it gives 10 milliliter of oxygen gas, 10 milliliter of oxygen gas at NTP from 1 milliliter of 10 volume hydrogen peroxide. 10 volume hydrogen peroxide you put in a inverted comma. So, 10 volume of hydrogen peroxide, if you from it you take 1 milliliter, that will give what? 10 milliliter of oxygen at NTP on decomposition. Suppose if it 20 volume, that means you from this 20 volume hydrogen peroxide you take 1 milliliter, that will give what? 20 milliliter of oxygen at NTP. If you take 1 liter, that will give you 20 liter of oxygen at NTP. So, that means number of milliliter of or volume of oxygen at NTP per unit volume of what? Hydrogen peroxide. That is your volume expression, volume expression. Suppose you are asked, suppose X volume, let us say X volume of hydrogen peroxide. So, how to volume expression can be converted? The volume of H2O2 can be converted to grams per liter or strength, can be converted to normality, can be converted to molarity. Question is asked. Suppose you are asked to find out what is the molarity of 20 volume hydrogen peroxide. If a question is asked like this, how can you calculate? Let us see what is the X volume of hydrogen peroxide. You take 1 milliliter of it and decompose it. So, what it will give? It will give you X milliliter of oxygen at NTP. If it will give you X milliliter of oxygen at NTP, then it will be treated as what? X volume. So, how to calculate in the form of molarity or grams per liter or strength? How can you convert it? So, you see your hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, you write down 2 H2O2, 2 water plus O2. This is L liquid, this is gas, H2O2. This is also aqueous, So, you see if it is a 22.4 liter or 22,400 milliliter at NTP, that means 1 mole, this is 1 mole. 1 mole will carry what? From mole concept you know. 1 mole is nothing but what? 22.4 liter or 22,400 milliliter. So, this will be decomposed from what? From 68 gram. That means 2 moles of H2O2, that is equal to 68 gram. 1 mole is equal to 32 plus 2, 34 gram, 2 moles will be 68 gram. So, if you will give you 68 gram, that will give you 22.4 liter. But how many milliliter you are getting? You are getting x milliliter. So, x milliliter of oxygen will be given from what? Will be given from 68 by 22,400 into what? Into x, into x, into x. So, from 1 milliliter by 22,400, from x milliliter we are getting multiplied by x. So, this much gram will give you what? X milliliter of oxygen. But x milliliter of oxygen you are getting from what? 1 milliliter. So, 1 milliliter must contain what? Must contain this much gram. So, 1 milliliter of x volume hydrogen peroxide in inverted comma will be having or contains 68x by 22,400 gram. So, this is your gram per milliliter. So, per liter 1000, we multiply 1000. So, 68x by 22,400 into 1000. So, 1000 you cancel. So, what you get? So, grams per liter, it will be getting what? 680 x by how much? By 224. You remember this is the grams per liter or strength of hydrogen peroxide. If strength is known, you can convert into normality by dividing equivalent mass. If grams per liter or strength is known by dividing the molecular mass, it can be converted to molarity. Then now you find out the equivalent mass. Hydrogen peroxide H2O. So, 16 part will give you 34 parts. So, 80 parts will give you what? By 2, that means 17. So, you remember equivalent mass of hydrogen peroxide is equal to 17. So, grams per liter by 17 will be its normality. So, normality is equal to grams per liter divided by equivalent mass, and that is if you divide by 17, that will be 40x by 224, 40x by 224. So, this is your normality. Then if you convert into molarity, you divide by 34, divide by 34, 34 is its molecular mass. So, 34 that will be 20x divided by 224. So, this is your molarity. Suppose if you are asked what is the normality of 20 volume hydrogen peroxide, if you are asked normality of 20 volume hydrogen peroxide, simply in the normality equation you put 20 here. So, 40 into 20 divided by 224, and this comes up to, this maybe comes up to 40x by 224, and that will come to 3.57 N. So, remember this is the normality of 20 volume of hydrogen peroxide. So, if you remember these three formulae, this is one, and this is one. So, if you remember the three formulae, you can, the volume percentage or volume composition can be converted to molarity or normality or strength can be converted. So, this is why this is important, ask as a 2 or 3 mark question. And also vice versa, if normality and molarity can be known, you can convert the volume percentage. So, to in the market to give you a level of 10 volume, 20 volume, you have to titrate it. And regarding this hydrogen peroxide volume, then regarding the properties you see, regarding the properties of hydrogen peroxide, let us say hydrogen peroxide is a very weak acid. Hydrogen peroxide hydrogen peroxide, how can you know it is an acid? Suppose if you treat with the sodium hydroxide, you will get sodium peroxide, that is peroxide compound of sodium. Similarly, another properties you can justify. So, you treat with sodium carbonate or sodium bicarbonate, that you can justify whether it is acidic or not by effervescence. You are getting what? You are getting sodium peroxide plus carbon dioxide plus water. So, you see in the liberation, that is called effervescence. So, if any substance gives you effervescence, bubbling out, gives you bubbling out with hydrogen peroxide or any substance, that must be acidic. The acidic property you can know by litmus test or simply by treat with sodium carbonate or sodium bicarbonate. If it gives you effervescence or bubbling of gases, then you can justify that the substance must be an acid, must be an acid. Must be an acid. Just like this, suppose you have any carbonate salt, let us say, carbonate salt, acid is what? Acid is your proton. So, then there will be formation of carbon dioxide plus water. So, this evolution of carbon dioxide justify that must be an acid. So, any substance, this is any substance which is acidic must give you effervescence with what? Your carbonate salt or bicarbonate salt. So, this is the acidic properties. Then your oxidizing property, oxidizing agent. You see, hydrogen peroxide is multifarious use. Hydrogen peroxide is a disinfectant due to its oxidizing power. So, oxidizing agent, why it is an oxidizing agent? Because you can write it like this, because it gives you oxygen. So, which will give you oxygen, that is an oxidizing agent. So, you see, this oxidizing agent, this is the oxidizing agent by removal of what? Oxygen. It gives us oxygen. And this oxygen, suppose if it treat with lead sulfide is black. When hydrogen peroxide comes in contact with the lead sulfide, it converted into lead sulfate, and lead sulfate is white. So, when the balancing you can do by this heat and trial method or balance by partial method, you can balance by partial method like this. You multiply 4 here because O4 is there, so you can balance it like this. So, simply by multiplying 4, then adding lead sulfide can be converted to lead sulfate. In museum, the lead metals, this lead ornaments etc. gradually turns black due to this atmospheric pollution or atmospheric content of hydrogen sulfide, lead sulfide, that turns into black. So, if that is washed with hydrogen peroxide in the museum, so then it will be again it regains its white color. So, the white will, if converts into black, then it is the pollution level is more, that in presence of pollution like H2S gas, that lead pigments in any coloring substance generally contains lead pigments, and that converts into black. But when it is again washed with hydrogen peroxide, it regains its color. Similarly, it again another oxidizing property you see, hydrogen, suppose you were asked to distinguish between hydrogen peroxide and water. In the hydrogen peroxide, if you treat with aqueous potassium iodide, there will liberation of violet vapors of iodine. Then this violet vapors of iodine, when comes in contact with the starch, you will get starch iodide blue solution, starch iodine complex. This is blue. So, if but with water no such case occurs. So, when you simply put a drop of potassium iodide, or you can take starch iodide, directly you can take starch iodide. Starch iodide means starch with Ki. The starch iodide, that will liberate what? Iodine. Iodine when comes in contact with starch, that will form a complex, that is a blue complex. But such things never occurs in case of water. So you see, by this property, oxidizing property, you can distinguish hydrogen peroxide from water. Simply you put a starch iodide paper. If the starch iodide paper turns blue, then that will be hydrogen peroxide, but that is also colorless, water is colorless. So in order to distinguish, you can do this. Another distinguishing test also you can do, that hydrogen peroxide you treat with potassium dichromate and sulfuric acid and put a ether organic layer. This is aqueous layer, this is our organic layer. If the layer turns blue, you remember this is a very interesting test and a positive test to signify much traces of hydrogen peroxide. If the hydrogen peroxide is much less in a substance, so that much less traces of hydrogen peroxide can be known or detected by treating with potassium dichromate, sulfuric acid and ether. Here a very interesting compound is found, that is your chromium peroxide. Chromium peroxide is formula is CrO5. You can also wrongly we call it chromium pentoxide, but generally that is a peroxide, chromium peroxide. This is this with ether, this dissolves in ether, forming a blue solution. So you see this chromium is a very interesting structure is for this. You see, if you study the structure of chromium, like this. Peroxide linkage is there, butterfly like this structure. The structure will show like a butterfly. Chromium 6 bonds are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here you see this is peroxide, but this is oxide. Oxide, suppose many times it is asked, what is the oxidation number of chromium in chromium peroxide? The oxidation number is, you see, don't tell -10 +10. This will be wrong, because the oxidation number maximizes to 8, because there are 8 electrons, there is no atom having electron more than 8. But if you put 10, it will be much incorrect. So don't put like this, but it will be +6. You see, these two peroxide, this is -1, -1, -1, -1. This is oxide means -2. So -2, -1, -1, -1, that means -6. So that is +6. And chromium, remember, chromium having maximum oxidation number, that is your +6, because chromium present in group 6. So maximum oxidation number of chromium is +6. So this is your oxidizing property. Also it gets reducing properties there. Also hydrogen peroxide acts as a bleaching properties also there, and hydrogen peroxide also has an additive property. You might be knowing from ethylene, when hydrogen peroxide added to this, we will getting ethylene glycol. So there is much very important properties with the hydrogen peroxide. Thank you all of you for your patient hearing.